See, when you start off as a consultant with the big four, like a McKinsey or a Deloitte, it's easy. Your life is set, but you're working for somebody. But when you start off a consultant on your consulting company on your own, doing the kind of stuff that a big four would do, you know you'll have to struggle, and you need to be ready for it. You need to be ready for all that, the emotional strife, the financial strife, whole the relationship strife, all of that. Be ready for that, because and be ready to face yourself every day when you get up and look at yourself in the mirror. Be ready to face yourself and say, you know what, that's okay. Yesterday was the past, today is the present, tomorrow's the future. Let me work on today for tomorrow. That's it. You tell yourself that, and it works.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. This is your host Neha at peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Coding Award for HCM, that's specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and channel that receives more than 200,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month. In today's episode, we have with us Kenneth Lewis. He's the co-founder of OKR International, India's first OKR consulting company. For 19 years, he has had a global L&D and OD experience, which began with Transworks, later Hutchison, 3 global services. He has consulted organizations such as Unilever, Colgate, the World Bank, Aditya Birla Group, Godrej, Bajaj, JP Morgan, and many more. He's also accredited and partnered with many renowned institutes. He's an angel investor and advisor at 2 startups, docmore.org and purposetrade.com, and a trustee at grassroots.in. He's also the co-founder of Human Circuits, which is a platform for sharing, learning, and networking. Kenneth says he thoroughly loves his work, how he does it. He finds meaning in why he has continued this journey so far, which is very inspiring indeed, and we cannot wait to learn more about it. So Kenneth, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us here today.
Thank you, Sneha. I'm thrilled to be on this platform with you and to share some of the things that I have learned across my journey in life, and would love to answer the questions that you throw at me, completely unscripted and just thought about on top of my head. That's it.
The first question that I want to ask you is, could you tell us something about how OKR International came into being?
Sure, of course. So this was 2017 when I had come across OKRs. Prior to that, I was helping organizations in setting up a productivity system or a performance system called as Balanced Scorecard. And I did that for a good long period of time. In 2017, my brother just came up to me and said, Kenneth, have you heard about OKRs? And I said, no, not really. And then he pushed me to these websites which had some information about it. And I immediately came to know that Google's been using it, and they call it their recipe for success. And later in that year, a guy called Rick Klau from Google set out a video about OKRs and told that this is the performance and the goal system that Google's using. And I got very interested. If Google's using something and it's given them success, it means that there's something in it for many other organizations as well. Then, of course, I came to know it was not only Google, but it was actually Intel who started this entire piece. And thereafter that, I just started studying about it, reading about it. John Doerr came out with this book, read that, and then immediately practiced that in a company that I'm invested in, docmore.org. And immediately within like just 2 cycles or 2 quarters, we started seeing success. Then another company came up to us and told us, hey, can we do OKRs as well? And I said, okay, I have done it for the last 2-3 months. I can train you guys as well. And I did that. And it's been now 3 years since we started. We decided to make it into a proper brand under our existing company. So OKR International now is a service brand under 7 People Systems, which is a company which is more than 11 years old now.
Wow, that is extremely inspiring. So Kenneth, I see that you've worked with many remarkable well-known brands.
Yeah.
And you surely seem to love what you do. So I'm sure that a lot of persistence and hard work also goes into accomplishing all that you have. So would you like to share a few words on how to keep that enthusiasm and that zeal going?
Well, I think it's a combination of, what are you really good at and what you really love. So the moment you find that sweet spot, you just start thriving in it. And over the past many years, I worked full time for almost 8 years in organizations, and it's 2008, 2009. I decided to call it quits. I have a plan for as much as possible an early retirement, as to say. But when I put that plan for myself, I also knew for myself I'll never really retire. I'll always keep on working. So that energy and that zeal for me comes from the fact that I will keep on finding stuff that I'm good at, and I really enjoy. And so much so that I keep on challenging myself on stuff that I'm good at as well. So it just keeps on increasing. So the excite, for example, when OKRs came into onto my plate in 2017, it became very exciting because I was really good at balanced scorecard. I was really good at a whole lot of other performance management systems. We do a whole lot of change management work for organizations. We have helped companies transform how they are, and we were really good at that. And when OKRs fell into my lap, suddenly there's this new thing.
Yeah.
It's fresh, it's new. I want to do something about it and make it into a service that other companies can enjoy as well. And I can probably have a say in a success of an organization, and that gave me a lot of energy. And the fact that in my job as a consultant, in I don't call it a job really, in the things that I do as a consultant, my passion, I get to see results, and that's beautiful. And when you start seeing results, not only just long-term results, but I start seeing short-term results, um, and that really excites me. So yeah, in all, it's a combination of what you really love, what you're really good at, what excites you, and your ability to see results.
I really agree with that point. It's like when we start out doing something, we have this idea in our head of how things are going to work out. But then sometimes what happens is they work out exactly how we wanted them to, and if your luck is even better, it just becomes bigger than you thought it would. And the kind of satisfaction that you derive from that, wanting to keep doing that every single day, keep choosing to do that every day, I feel like that happens to very few people. And I'm very glad that you found that in your career, and it's just really inspiring. I'm sure that will open doors up to many more things to go ahead in the future. So that's really great, Kenneth. Coming back to what we spoke about in the first question, so opening India's very first OKR consulting company was a challenge in itself. But as is the rule with all that's new and happening, like you yourself said now, it was a very fresh thing to begin with. So how did establishing that company open up new avenues for you?
That's a great question. So, you know, being in the consulting space for the past 12, 13 years, I was always helping other organizations become more agile, more collaborative, more successful. I was always helping other organizations in innovating, in challenging themselves. So always helping others. When OKRs came to us on our lap, we both Nikhil and me told ourselves, Nikhil's the other founder at OKR International. We just told ourselves, this is an opportunity. We got to grab it. And we just jumped onto it. It didn't take us much because we've been so used to telling others on what to do. When we started telling ourselves, we said, you know what, it's time for us to take our own pill. And we did that. And it wasn't very difficult, honestly. For all those people who want to try out anything new, want to branch off in a new direction, want to start off a new product or a new service or even a new company. Honestly, if you just have the idea and just want to start it, it doesn't take time. What does it take? Honestly, a website, a little bit of marketing work, some emails going to your existing clients and old clients, and then persistence, landing a client in the first place. And we were quite fortunate that we had clients coming to us because it was the need of the hour, and also because at the same time it gave us that zeal, because here's a new space. We want to create something new in India. Now we knew there were international players in the OKR space, but there wasn't really a firm here in India who was doing OKR consulting. There might have been individuals, but not really a firm. And when we came together to create that organization, the first thing that we said is we're going to get some like-minded people together. So maybe the next thing for us was getting some like-minded people, and we got them. We got a good team. We got a very good client. We landed one of our big clients, Colgate Palmolive, which now is the largest FMCG company using OKRs. And that entire success just started happening for us. And we have more and more clients calling up. We have more and more firms calling up and saying, hey, you know what, we're hearing about the stuff that you guys are doing. We're seeing that it's really fun working with you. And at the same time, we're getting a whole lot of results because of what OKRs can do for organizations. So they're signing us in, and we just recently launched, and it's a constant change. We also launched an open training program for anybody who wants to learn about OKRs. So we do this once in 2 months. They just sign into a program that we have once in 2 months, and they get to learn from both Nikhil and me, and we both facilitate the session. So it's a whole lot of fun, uh, spreading the knowledge, getting more people signed up, getting more organizations tuned to a more agile way of performance and goal management. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I love how you're not just enjoying what you're doing, but you also are on the lookout to share it with other people. And at
Yes.
the end of the day, I think that when you do that and when you grow as a community, when you look back one day, I mean, I'm sure that must have happened to you. When you look back, you realize that all you started with was a dream. And there are very few people who can actually just give into that and just go ahead with that. That takes a lot of passion and that takes a lot of zeal, I would say. And that's really great, Kenneth, that you are showing that.
Yeah, and to add on to that, it's when something like goals or leadership or management or any of these things land onto your plate, or any of them have any kind of subject matter expertise around them, I immediately tell myself, how can we make this more open source? How can we have other people learning from each other? Because that only makes that subject matter much more holistic, much more well-rounded. When other industries start using OKRs, the concept of OKRs itself becomes more well-rounded and starts evolving into something that is much more applicable for organizations who want to use it. And that itself, and I truly believe that, especially in the consulting world, it's almost like a fraternity. You have to believe that it's a fraternity of like-minded people who are coming together to share something together. And when I started off Human Circuits, we started off a couple of other networking groups as well. The entire idea of doing and setting up those things was to create a platform where everybody can just come and learn. Now, of course, through that, it's not about that you're going to pass on something that is an intellectual property right, and you're going to lose your credibility, you're going to lose your niche or your competitiveness. I said, no, the more you share, the more people start regarding you with respect, right? And you get to learn as well. So the more I talk to others, the more I get to learn from others as well about how they perceive what OKRs are, how they perceive change management to be, right? So it's quite interesting that way.
That's absolutely remarkable, Kenneth. I see that behind you there is a bookshelf.
Yes.
My next question is, Kenneth, do you enjoy reading? And what are the top three picks that you would like to suggest to our audience to indulge in to stay motivated like you do? And could you also give a quick gist about this?
Sure, of course. I love reading. Over the past 2 or 3 years, I've kind of found a hack in reading, and that is, it's not really a hack, it's audiobooks. I love audiobooks now. And when I'm running or when I'm going for a walk, that's my go-to listening piece. And it's really, for me, reading is relaxing whenever I do it. My favorite book, which I recommend to any person who wants to set up a business, who wants to be different, who really wants to inspire themselves, is a book that inspired me, and I keep this always next to me. It's called Jonathan Livingston Seagull. It's a very easy read. It's not a management book. It is not. It's almost like a semi-fiction kind of a book that really helps you think. The it's about an albatross, a seagull wanting to be an albatross, and goes further into the ocean. Just challenging himself as a bird, and the name of the bird is Jonathan Livingstone. It's a seagull. And it's a beautiful story. The way it all encompasses, and how how the need for adventure and the need for something different can drive somebody. And it always reminds me not to be in my comfort zone as well. So that's one thing about the book. The second book is Measure What Matters by John Doerr, who is also a principal investor in Google. He's a principal investor in many unicorn Silicon Valley startups. The book talks about OKRs, and that's the book that actually promoted OKRs to the rest of the world. And everybody started seeing that there is a lot of merit in using objectives and key results in organizations. And he did a great job because he had Bill Gates, he had Bono, he had so many other companies, Intuit, and all these companies talking about how OKRs really help. And when you have such big names, the book sells. And it's really nicely written, and he has done a great job and great service to the world of OKRs there. And my third book is a book that I'm a big fan of. So any kind of implementations that we do in organizations, whether it be a corporate, whether it be an institution, or also a non-profit. I'm working with a non-profit right now, and each of these organizations have a challenge, and the challenge is change. When you're so used to doing things in the way that you've been doing, just changing how goals are set now, changing how goals are set, and how you're going to track those goals, and what goals are you going to achieve. That entire methodology is not just a technology or a process change. It's a human behavior change. And one of my favorite books is Switch by the Heath brothers, by Dan and Chip Heath. And I recommend that book for everybody because it tells you how you can make change happen at an individual, at a group, or an organizational level. And how you can really find hacks actually in making sure that change really sticks. And this is not being manipulative, but this is actually ethical and progressive ways of making change really stick in organizations. So I really love that book. I can talk about many more books, but I would limit them to these three at the moment.
And it's on a personal note, I'm a student of literature as well, and I'm directly adding these books to my reading list because the way that you spoke about them, I'm so intrigued to just check them out and know what they're all about. So I'm definitely going to read these next. I'm sure so is our audience. Moving on to the last question for today. So you're an inspiration to those who are looking to start new things. But having said that, there are many apprehensions that are associated with starting something new. So as someone who's been through the same, how do you think one should go about it?
Yeah, there are some people who would immediately tell you, you know what, just take the risk, just do it.
Right.
Um, I did it. I did that too. I just quit my job one day and I decided to myself, I'm going to start something of my own. And it's been now 11 years since I took that decision, and I have four businesses that I can say is something that I have started over the last 11 years. And each of them have their own share of success and failures. It's a risk, no doubt about it. And my advice to a whole lot of people who want to get out there, do something on their own, or who want to lead something or initiate something, the idea is talk it out with somebody first. Talk it out with when I say somebody, find three or four people, and find three or four people who are very different from each other, in different places in their lives. Maybe talk to a teenager if you have to, talk to a college graduate if you have to, talk to a very senior person, talk to a person who's successful, talk to a person who's not successful. You might get confused in the end, but what you will end up getting is a whole lot of intelligence that can help you make a decision. And what should you really look for? What you should look for is, I remember watching a movie sometime back, and there's a guy, who makes decisions in a very it's non-stereotypical way. There's no big boxes or pros and cons list that goes about it. So when you're making a decision, all you got to do is listen to what your heart is telling you to do. So say, for example, you take a coin and you toss it. Okay. You say heads, I'm going to jump into this business. Tails, I'm not going to jump in this business. Now, when you toss the coin and you call out something, before you call out, listen to what your heart is saying. Your heart might be saying, I wish it is heads. I wish it is heads. If your heart is saying that, if your heart and your mind is saying, I wish it is heads, listen to that. Then that's telling you whether you should jump into something or not, or make that decision or not. Because I believe, I'm a true believer that we are rational human beings. We are, but we have, behind the rational side of us, we have a huge emotional side of us. And there are times that we have to listen to that emotional side, because the emotional side is much more bigger. And when you start listening to that side, you start you don't regret in the end, and you enjoy the process. But when you only make rational decisions without the emotional side of you on side of the rational side, you start regretting, or you start finding holes in the very decisions you make. So I think that's been one of the reasons. I I'm very happy with all decisions that I've made. I have failed in a business. I've lost money. Um, and now the rational side of me will tell me, Kenneth, that was stupid of you to do that. But the emotional side of me is telling me, I know the reason I got into that business was because I also wanted to learn. I wanted to try out something different, and I learned it. I lost money. Yes, it hurts me that I lost money. But I'm happy about the fact that I could learn more about how to read people, how to read a business, so a whole lot of things you get out of it.
Yeah, I completely understand. And I feel like, there's no clear-cut way in which you can actually work on your emotional side, but at the same time, it's also something that you need to balance out while you are managing, say, a business. So it always helps to talk to people and widen your perspective about things, because that's when you actually get an overall view of how things are. And sometimes, like you yourself mentioned, they may not be the best people to talk to, but it just opens up a conversation with yourself. And oftentimes we have these things inside our mind that we haven't really analyzed as yet. But it's not until we actually start talking to ourselves about those things that we realize there's so many aspects that we were actually thinking about, and it's
Yeah,
easy to just put it out there and then decide what you want to do. And like you
ab-
said, that at the end of the day, unless you're happy with what you've done, no matter how many mistakes you've made, unless you're happy, what's the point of anything? I mean, why do we do anything? We do it to derive some kind of satisfaction. So definitely, I fully agree with everything that you just said.
and it's all about just staying in, because when you start something else, a lot of people might also expect some very quick returns. You might get some quick returns, but the big returns come in after a lot of persistence. I remember when we started. See, when you start off as a consultant with the big four, like a McKinsey or a Deloitte, it's easy. Your life is set, but you're working for somebody. But when you start off a consulting company on your own,
Mm.
doing the kind of stuff that a big four would do, you'll have to struggle, and you need to be ready for it. You need to be ready for all that, the emotional strife, the financial strife, whole the relationship strife, all of that. Be ready for that, and be ready to face yourself every day when you get up and look at yourself in the mirror. Be ready to face yourself and say, you know what, that's okay. Yesterday was the past, today is the present, tomorrow's the future. Let me work on today for tomorrow. That's it. You tell yourself that, and it works.
Absolutely. Okay,
Yeah.
it was very nice talking to you. And I really want to thank you not just for your insight, but also for taking the time out to talk to us. And like you said, it can often get very intimidating to dream big. But you're a living testimony of the fact that with hard work and persistence and just believing in yourself, every dream can be achieved. And while that's what I will personally take away from this conversation, I'm sure that our audience supports the same view as well. So once again, thank you so much, Kenneth, for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Sneha, and thank you for team at People Hum.